Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Coffee Chat with Matt. I'm your host, Matt Zerbe, and I'm here at Wasco Nursery and Garden Center. And it's Easter weekend. I'm very happy to be here, and especially excited because the weather is finally improving here in Northern Illinois. A little cooler today, cool for Easter Sunday, and cool Monday, but then we're really starting to warm up, and it really looks like planting season is here. So I'm pretty jazzed about that. I thought that I would come to you today and show you just a few of my favorite early spring blooming plants. The garden center's bursting with color, so it was a little difficult to choose, but I'll show you a few of my favorites. I'm standing right here next to one of them. It is Iberis or Candy Tuft. This particular one is called Snowsation, and as the name suggests, it is very cold tolerant, and then the white flowers really just make a big pop early in the springtime. It is a low growing plant. It only gets about 6 inches tall. It's a great border plant. You could put it along the edge of your sidewalk. It's a wonderful rock garden plant, or if you have like a little boulder, like a granite boulder edging or a little boulder wall or something like that, it would do really well along there. It's great along like ponds, waterfalls, water features, things like that. It's just starting to bloom right now. So like this particular plant here, you can see more than a handful of open flowers, but tons and tons of still tight buds. So it's a really nice mid to late April bloomer and an easy to grow plant. So that's Snowsation, Iberis, or Candy Tuft. And right across from me over here, we have a couple of dwarf Korean spice viburnum, but the Korean spice viburnum in general, that whole category of plants are one of my favorite viburnums for a few reasons. Number one, there's an insect that some viburnum get called a viburnum crown borer. It's the reason why we don't carry cranberry viburnum here at Wasco. It always succumbs to this insect, the viburnum crown borer, and so we just try to stay away from those. This particular variety is very resistant to it, will stay resistant for about 25 plus years, and then oftentimes will succumb to the insect way down the road, which is kind of the life expectancy of a lot of shrubs anyway. This one has really nice pink buds. Now, to be fair, this plant just came out of an unheated hoop house, so it did have just a little bit of, I'll just call it greenhouse encouragement. So in the wild, if this was in the ground, in your yard, whatever, it probably is not quite at this stage just yet, but pink buds that then open to beautiful white flowers. And when you have the flowers partially open, you get this two-tone red or pinky red with white. Now the fragrance, I would say, is a sweet, spicy fragrance. And I think, and this is more personal preference, I think they smell better than lilacs. I'll probably get some a little bit of hate for that, but I think they smell better than lilacs. I really like the fragrance on these. This particular variety, which is compact or dwarf Korean spice, is only going to get about 3 to 4 feet tall by about 3 to 4 feet wide, so nice mounding plant. If you go with the regular sized Korean spice, or one of the improved Korean spice like Judd or Spice Girl or one of those are going to be in the 5 to maybe 7 foot tall range. They have obviously beautiful spring flowers, leathery leaves during the summer, and then they have really nice fall color, orangey red to sort of a burgundy or maroon type red, so very nice for fall color. Right over here, I've got a dwarf rhododendron called Purple Gem, and the Purple Gem rhododendron is only going to get about 2 feet tall. So if some of the taller rhododendron like PJM, Aglow, things like that, if those are going to be too tall for you, you might try and check out one of these smaller varieties. So this one right here, you can see everything about the plant is dwarf. The leaves are dwarf, the flowers are dwarf, and the whole plant itself is dwarf. So really nice variety, easy to grow. This particular type is a little better in our northern Illinois climate. The thing with rhododendrons around here is we have a heavy clay, and an alkaline soil. Those are 2 strikes against most rhododendrons, so you will not find a lot of different varieties of rhododendrons in our nursery that you might if you moved out to the coast, or if you're from maybe Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, coastal Oregon, something like that. They have gobs and gobs of different varieties, hundreds of different hybrids and big leafed ones and ones that get 12 feet tall and all different bright colors, things like that. We just really can't do those here. This particular variety, Purple Gem or Ramapo, I really like those 2 for small statured varieties. Aglow and PJM I like for, kind of your mid-size, that like 3 to 5-ish foot range. I still recommend amending the soil if you're going to try to plant rhododendrons or azaleas here. We have a product called Dr. Earth Acid Lovers Mix that we sell here. It's a wonderful soil amendment or planting mix. So a lot of times I'll get rid of the heaviest clay, take the best of my black dirt, mix it with the Dr. Earth Acid Lovers Mix, use that as my backfill. And then I would still say about twice, maybe 3 times a year, I'd recommend putting a soil acidifier down, something like aluminum sulfate, or we carry Espoma soil acidifier here. Always a good product, works really well. The last couple of weeks, I've been talking about my magnolia here, which is called Alexandrina. It's a saucer magnolia, and I want to take a look at that. It is in just about full bloom right now. We had a couple of close calls. It was budding out. We had a really very low overnight temperature. I want to say it got to, I think, 20 or 21 here at the garden center when these buds were opening. And a few of the first buds actually got froze off. But now the tree's in full bloom, or just about full bloom, and looking beautiful. So we have to show it to you. So Alexandrina, saucer magnolia, just an absolute stunning, stunning plant. This particular tree was planted in, I believe, 1998. So it's going on 27-ish years old, somewhere in that range. It's about 15, 18 feet tall, maybe pushing 20. Beautiful tree. It has a deep pinky purple bud. That's the outside of the flower is like a pinky purple. The inside is white, so you get this 2-tone appearance. It has a really nice fragrance to it. Just a lovely, lovely tree altogether. So this one here is about as big as they're going to get. Now, they are a pretty long-lived tree, so they will last for 30 to 50 years. I've seen some nice old ones that will end up with big, wide, sweeping branches, things like that. This one is still, for all intents and purposes, it's a fairly young tree, so it's got some time to branch out and get really nice sized. Grow these in full sun to part shade. They're not gonna love a fully shaded location, but part sun is fine, part shade is fine, and they certainly do very well in full sun. And these are northern hardy magnolias. We have several. We have Jane magnolia, Ann magnolia, Galaxy, Star, Saucer, a handful of others that are all northern hardy. There are, as I was mentioning with rhododendrons, there are a lot of magnolias that we can't grow here in northern Illinois, that if you're watching from some other part of the country down south or out on the coast, you may have a bunch of varieties of magnolias that we can't grow here that are just as beautiful, but these are some good northern hardy varieties. So Jane, Ann, Alexandrina, and Saucer are some of my absolute favorites. There's no shortage of blooming plant material. The forsythias are looking gorgeous. We have a handful of different varieties. I really like forsythia. They bloom for a long time. It's one of those, I think, kind of a sleeper plant. They've been around forever. Some people are just kind of like, I don't really want a forsythia. I've had one, whatever. but they're full shade to full sun, so you can literally plant them anywhere. They are deer and rabbit resistant. I have a very large old forsythia. I don't know what varieties I've got in my backyard. They've been there since the previous homeowner planted them. The deer walk back there every night. They never touch them. They're in dense shade, doing great. They stay fully green, so it's a great privacy plant if you're looking for something to screen, underneath trees, or give you a little privacy barrier where you've got some overhanging branches and the full sun stuff isn't gonna cut it. Forsythia is gonna really do a good job for you. There's also a forsythia for every size. We have full-size forsythia that are gonna get 5 to 7-ish, maybe even 8 feet high. We have some that'll be in the 3 to 4 or 5 foot range, and we have some that'll be in the 2 to 3 foot range. So you could use it as a low foundation hedge. It makes a great border type plant. Some of the shorter ones are a wonderful foreground border type plant. So it's really versatile. They also have nice fall colors. So it's got a lot going on. The show off series from Proven Winners is really good. I like dwarf Bronx forsythia. That's a really nice small variety that only gets about 2 to 3 feet high and hedges really well. If you like to trim and shape your plants, the Bronx forsythia will lend itself very well to that. We have a new offering this year, a crabapple called Emerald Spire. It's right over my left shoulder. Emerald Spire is a pink blooming, very upright, narrow profile crabapple. So this is gonna work really well near the corner of your house, maybe in a parking lot island or next to your driveway, certainly corner of your deck or patio, somewhere where you want some height, but don't have the ability to have something with the width. So this is Emerald Spire right here. Wonderful fragrance to these, so really nice fragrance. It's got this kind of, I'll call it a dusty pink color, kind of gray-green foliage. Lovely tree, 15, maybe 20 feet tall by about, 12 to maybe 15, but I would say more like 12. You can see the branch angles on this are very upright. So most crab apples have really wide spreading branches, which are going to give them that 20, 25 foot width. But with this tight angle here, you're not going to have the 15, 20, 25 foot width. It's going to stay much more columnar in its habit. So really nice tree if you need a kind of smaller, a tree for a smaller space. Right behind me here, I have one of several varieties of dianthus that we have out right now. Dianthus, like that candy tuft that I started with, is a wonderful early blooming perennial. These also just came out of a low or minimal heat greenhouse, so they're blooming a little earlier than normal, but in the ground, they would start blooming in the next 2 weeks or so. And this particular one is, I believe, Coral Punch, classic coral, fruit punch, classic coral. These have a really nice fragrance to them, that kind of a spicy clove type fragrance, but they've got the blue foliage. You can see they're loaded with flower buds. All of these green buds all over here are about ready to pop. So this is just starting to open here. But there's a lot of other colors available in the dianthus, in the whole line of dianthus that we have. So just right over here, we've got some of the white ones, like this here. This is called Frosty. So that's got a really nice white kind of double flower to it. There's the Maraschino, which is a kind of cherry red variety. And then Pop Star, which is a two-tone, it's a pink with kind of a red circular center to it. So really nice. These again are good border plants, good rock garden plants. You can do them in mass. You can do kind of a line sort of edging a bed with taller perennials or shrubs behind it. It's gonna work really well just about anywhere where it's in the foreground of a bed. Another really nice spring blooming plant is this one right here. This is Eastern Redbud. This happens to be a fairly large field-grown Eastern Redbud that we grew in our field. Now, Redbud is something that I get a lot of questions about, and sometimes when I recommend an Eastern Redbud to someone, they will say, "Oh, no, Redbuds aren't very hardy here, or I've had bad luck with Redbuds." And that doesn't surprise me, because Redbuds are a plant that grow very well way down south and grow pretty well all the way up into the kind of upper Midwest. And the seed source or the genetics really change a lot in the plant. Even though it's not a separate species that grows, say, down in Oklahoma or Missouri, Tennessee, areas like that where they literally grow like weeds, the genetics are very different. The cold hardiness is very different on those southern genetic Eastern Redbuds versus the northern strains of Eastern Redbuds. We grow these out in the middle of our open farm. We have a farm that is surrounded by about 200-300 acres of corn and soybean. There is nothing there's no buildings out there, there's nothing. And these Eastern Redbuds grow wonderfully out there. They're going to open up to beautiful lavender, kind of pinkish flowers. We probably have a few open here somewhere. These are still pretty tightly budded. They'll be open here middle of the week. The flowers are going to be followed by a beautiful heart-shaped green leaf. The Eastern Redbud is a native tree here in northern Illinois. You would generally find it growing at the edge of the woods or maybe near a stream or riverbank, not right near the bank, but just kind of at the edge where the larger trees aren't growing anymore. But a wonderful understory tree that can be grown in full sun to basically full shade. It has an umbrella-shaped canopy, so it gets about 20 to 25 tall by about 25 wide. It tends to be just a little wider than it is tall. And in the Eastern Redbud family, we have all different types, colors. There's yellow-leafed varieties. There's burgundy-leafed varieties like Merlot and Forest Pansy. The yellow ones like Rising Sun. We have some Weeping Redbuds. We've got some really cool multicolored foliage redbuds like Alley Cat, which is green and white. I have one of those at home. It's actually a really cool plant. Carolina Sweetheart, which I will be adding to my yard this year, which is a pink, green, and white sort of tricolor foliage, which is very cool. Flamethrower, which has yellow, orange, and red foliage, which is really neat. So there's a lot of options for bright colors, various foliage colors, different textures, even some weeping varieties. So Eastern Redbud's a really great plant that I use a lot in my landscape designs. This section here, these are called Geum. One of my favorite early blooming perennials. There's a native variety that I will show you in a moment called Prairie Smoke Geum, Geum triflorum. This particular variety right here, this is the Tempo series. This one's called Tempo Rose. We also carry Tempo Orange and I think Tempo Yellow, which is not here yet. But these are going to have these beautiful kind of nickel-sized, peachy pink, rose-colored flowers, nice mounded foliage in there. They bloom for a long time. They just started blooming. Again, these got a little bit of greenhouse heat. This is actually the same plant right over here, just without the greenhouse heat. So you can see they're budded, they're filling out and growing, but that other batch is just a little further along. So you've got what we call like natural crop versus a greenhouse crop. It just got those couple of extra weeks of being woken up early. It's just a little ahead of the game, that's all. It just gives a little extra color early in the springtime. But I really like this series of plants. They're for full sun. They're another good kind of middle or foreground type plant. They get about 12, maybe 18 inches tall. So you're not gonna want them in the back. They'll probably get lost back there. But lovely plants. And the Prairie Smoke Geum has little buds, little pinky red buds that open to this really cool sort of smoky flower. And it's native, it's hardy, it's one of the first things that pollinators go after. So kind of a cool native plant, although these are cultivars here, they're not the native varieties. This is a pasque flower, and this was one that I actually had to talk to my grower about because This has been one of my favorite plants for a long time, and when these started blooming this year, they opened up white. Now, I am used to these being purple, and from what I understand, the seeds of this particular plant sometimes will produce white flowers, and sometimes will produce purple flowers. You can see the purple flower on the picture tag there. This particular batch of seed-grown plants happened to come up white. I think it's actually really cool. I actually had never seen it before, but very cool plant, very, very cold tolerant. I do get asked a lot at this time of year, is it too early to plant? That's just kind of a question that I get, I mean, maybe many, many times a day at this time of year. My standard answer is, if it's outside here at the garden center, it's safe to plant. So these kind of plants, perfectly safe to plant. This obviously is not blooming right now, but it is a black-eyed Susan. Black-eyed Susans in my garden at home look just like this. They're peeking out of the ground. They're about an inch tall, tiny little leaves, perfectly safe to plant. Other things like my iris are up 6, 8, 12 inches already. Again, very cold hardy plant material. It's not going to be bothered. It is way too early in our area here in Northern Illinois for tropical plants, annual flowers, and your warm weather veggies. You can certainly do some of your cold crop type veggies. Now your lettuces, cabbages, kales, things like that will be perfectly fine, but your warm weather stuff, the tomatoes, peppers, etc., they're not going to do well yet. There's no advantage to getting them in the ground early, so wait another couple of weeks. You know, the forecast looks wonderful, but there's no benefit to getting tomatoes in the ground right now. The ground is still very cold. Even if we were to already be past the frost point, the ground is still too cold for that stuff. So just wait a little while. You'll be happy that you did. All right, just a couple more here. This is Alpine Columbine. Beautiful blue flowers with a white center. Again, just starting to open here. Loaded with buds. These are native to the kind of west, the mountain west, Colorado. Up in the mountains, you'll see these blooming. Wyoming, high elevations, but beautiful cold tolerant plant. We have a whole line of columbine. There's a native one here that is in the back. It's got kind of a reddish flower. They're all just coming up right now. So at home, mine look just like this. They're just foliage, but the buds are forming, they're shooting out, and they're gonna start blooming here in, I mean, it could be a week, maybe 2, given the temperature forecast that I'm seeing. Things could still change, of course, but really nice, steady increase in temperatures after Monday. But the big difference is the overnight lows are considerably warmer in the coming 10 days than they were in the past 10 days. And what I noticed at home, even just from the time I left for work in the morning to the time I got home yesterday afternoon or evening, my hostas grew, I would say 4 inches. They were just peeking out of the ground when I left for work, and they're about 4 inches tall when I got home at 6 or whatever o'clock at night. So the overnight lows make a big difference. And last night, with the humidity and the warmth and everything that we had here, that really got things going. And once they start, it's really hard for the plants to stop. They want to get going now. So we're going to start to see a lot of stuff emerging out of the ground, blooming, doing all of its normal stuff, which is exciting. That's what we want to see. All right, one last plant, because I can't talk about these enough. You're probably bored with them already, but I've been talking about them on Facebook and on some other videos, but the Lenten roses or hellebores, we've got a huge selection of them. There are all different colors. These plants are semi-evergreen, so they will typically keep their foliage over the winter time unless we have a really harsh winter. Some of them have really striking like silver veining and various windows on the leaf, which gives it a really neat look. These are very cold tolerant, as the name suggests. Lenten rose, it's Easter. I had to talk about them. They are shade plant. They go very well with hostas, ferns, coral bells, things like that. They are animal resistant. In fact, they're toxic to many animals, so the animals just leave these things alone. that leathery leaf that they will get as the summer progresses is really durable. And as I mentioned, kind of a semi-evergreen. So it gives some cool winter color. They will bloom typically starting, usually they start blooming in April. These definitely got a little bit of greenhouse heat to get them going. Mine at home are only up about 4 inches right now, and they're just starting to throw some flower stalks. There's no flowers yet. And then they'll bloom all through April, May, oftentimes into June and July even at my house. So they really do well around here. And the fact that the deer and rabbits don't touch them is big for me, because I have both of them in my yard. And there's a few things that I'm willing to spray and try to keep the deer and rabbits off of, but for the most part, I just let the deer and rabbits do their thing. So I try to find things that they're not going to bother, because I don't want to be out there spraying and treating stuff with animal repellents that smell nasty and whatnot. So there's a few things that I'll do it to, but a lot of color variations in the hellebores: greens, pinks, purpley colors, reddish colors. So lots to choose from there. Most of these are going to be in that same size range, which is about 18-ish inches tall by about 24 inches wide. There's a little bit of variety there. They might range a little bit larger, and some varieties be just a little bit smaller. But easy to grow plants, and if you've got a shady spot that you're looking to fill, I definitely recommend the hellebores. So we've got lots more that we're going to be talking about over the coming weeks. So I'd love it if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. And we'll be back with some more videos here in the near future.